Morning, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be cutting out some icosahedrons, otherwise known as D20s or 20-sided dice in the Dungeons & Dragons community. I started off by cutting some 1.5-inch blocks out on my table saw, which these actually ended up being just a little bit over 1.5 inches, as you can see right there. But then I took my square and set it down to 3/4 of an inch, which is going to be the halfway point, and then I'm going to go through and make lines on each side of the cube, being sure that I keep them perpendicular to one another. You'll see why that's kind of important here in just a little bit. With your cubes, when you're making your halfway point marks, you make the line on the one side, which I had to make the line and flip my square over and make the line on the other side of the same side. And then flip the block, which I kind of made myself a little system to where you can see the line there, and then I just turn the block over to where I keep it the next line perpendicular to that previous line that I made. When you get to that third side, once again you want to make sure that it is perpendicular to the one and perpendicular to the other. So you want it running into the one and the other one running into it there in the middle point. And then you just follow that pattern until you have all 6 of the sides of your cube marked out. Then we can get ready to start actually cutting the thing out. I move my bandsaw table there up to 21 degrees, exactly 21 degrees. Then, keeping all those marks lined up as best I can, went ahead and cut them all out, which I messed up on the other side, which you'll see here in a minute. I have to take off another little bit of it just to kind of even both those sides up. But if you're doing this on the bandsaw like I am, be sure you keep your fingers back and away from the blade, which is the reason why I switched over to a 1.5-inch size block instead of trying to do this on a 1-inch block, which would give you a like standard normal size dice when you're done. But just to keep my fingers a little bit more away from the blade. And here you can see where I made that screw up on that one side, so I just took a little bit more than the bandsaw blade width off of that side, just to even both the sides up. Then you go through and just cut the rest of your sides, and you want to cut to that midway point on all of them. And I just keep the flat side down until the point to where you can't for the final 2 sides that you have to cut, and you'll see that here in just one. Now we get to that final side, which you're going to have to hold the block kind of funky and keep it square yourself as you're trying to make your cut down and along the line. And as long as you take it slow, line everything up beforehand. You can see my big head with my hat on there in the way before I even start cutting on this thing. But just take it slow, take your time, and you should be fine just being able to cut it right on through. Once you get done with cutting all that, you'll have a shape that looks kind of like this. Now, it's not a D20, but we're not done yet. You're going to have to go through and mark equilateral triangles on each side using that angle that we just cut as your kind of the vertex in between the 2 triangles, which you'll see here. I just take a straight edge, and that's where you're actually going to make your mark between the one side and the point on the other side. I also decided not to use my square for that because it was a little unwieldy, so I just grabbed a straight edge piece of wood and then mark that side, or mark that angle. And it's a lot easier to do this if you actually do the markings, because then it lets you, gives you a guide reference, and you're not going to accidentally turn it. And then once you have all those triangles marked out on there, we can get into cutting all of those triangles off. You're going to be tempted to move your bandsaw table again, but don't do it. Once you have the last original corner of that cube cut off there, you have your completed icosahedron 20-sided dice shape. Which, if you want it looking this rough, I could have taken my time, been a little bit easier on it, but I went ahead and just swapped out my bandsaw blade for a sanding strip, and then sanded all the sides down and I used the sanding here to kind of finalize the shape and get everything pretty much as perfect as I could get it, well, to where I was happy with it anyway. And it also took away all the burn marks from the bandsaw blade. Once you have everything all sanded up and completed down, then you get this nice D20 shape, as soon as I can actually get it down in the center of focus here. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit the share button, share it with all your friends, hit the subscribe button if you're not a member. And here, that's not the one I sanded, these are the ones I sanded up. And as always, leave a comment if you notice something that you'd like me to do, or something that I need to be changing, or anything like that. And until then, we'll see you next time.